Welcome to the Eclipse Horror Stories. If you are new here, just hit the like button and do not forget to subscribe. Thanks for the subscribing. Let's dive into the story, The Haunted Highway Stories, that will give you chills tonight. They say that nearly 1 in 5 drivers admit they've experienced something they couldn't explain while driving at night. Think about that for a second. Millions of people cruising down highways in the dead of night, and suddenly finding themselves face to face with the unexplainable. Ghostly hitchhikers, vanishing trucks, a woman walking barefoot in the middle of nowhere, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Now I'll ask you, have you ever driven down a lonely stretch of highway and felt that eerie prickle at the back of your neck? The one that makes you glance at your rearview mirror again and again, convinced someone is sitting in the back seat? Highways are supposed to represent freedom. Open roads, long drives, escape. But when the sun goes down, they transform into something else entirely. Endless black stretches of nothingness. No houses, no towns. Just 2 thin beams of your headlights cutting through the dark. And in that void, people swear they've seen things that defy reason. Tonight, we're diving into those haunted highways. Stories passed down in whispers, shared in roadside diners, or confessed in panicked posts on late-night forums. These aren't just urban legends. These are the experiences of travelers who swore they'd never forget what they saw. Take Highway 66, for example. America's Mother Road. Thousands have traveled it, but countless truckers refuse to drive certain stretches after midnight. Why? Because of the vanishing hitchhiker. They say a young woman in white appears on the side of the road, her thumb raised, her eyes sad and pleading. Drivers who pick her up claim she sits silently in the passenger seat until they pass the old cemetery. Then, without a sound, she disappears, leaving only the faint scent of roses behind. But here's the part that unsettles me most. People swear the same woman in white has been seen on other highways, too. Different states, different years, but the same description. Could it be the same ghost? Or something else entirely? It's easy to dismiss these stories as tricks of the mind. Fatigue, headlight glare, imagination. But when hundreds of different people, from different walks of life, all tell eerily similar stories, maybe there's something more lurking out there on those lonely highways. Tonight, I'll take you on a journey through some of the most haunted roads in America. From phantom truckers that appear only to run drivers off the road, to pale figures that step out in front of cars only to vanish on impact, to screams that echo across desolate bridges with no living soul in sight. By the time we're done, you might think twice before taking that midnight drive. So buckle up, keep your doors locked, and if you feel the urge to look into your rearview mirror, maybe resist it. Because the first story tonight takes place on a stretch of highway where drivers swear something follows them, no matter how fast they go. Highways have always carried a strange duality. In the daylight, they're filled with families on road trips, truckers making deliveries, and the comforting rhythm of everyday life. But at night they change. The familiar becomes sinister. The exit signs you pass seem fewer and farther between. The radio starts to crackle with static, and in that endless black stretch of asphalt, the line between reality and nightmare begins to blur. It's no wonder so many highways are steeped in ghost stories. Some of these roads are old, centuries old, laid down over ancient trails, native burial grounds, or battlefields where countless souls lost their lives. Others are the sites of horrific accidents, their asphalt scarred by tragedy, stained with the echoes of screams that never really faded away. There's a certain vulnerability to driving at night. Think about it. You're enclosed in a small metal box, moving at 70 miles an hour, often miles away from the nearest person who could help you. Darkness stretches endlessly beyond the faint halo of your headlights. You're cut off from the safety of home, from the comfort of towns, from the illusion of control. And in that fragile state, drivers begin to notice things. Shapes by the roadside. Figures darting just beyond the reach of light. Whispers in the static of the radio, saying things no broadcast should ever say. Many travelers laugh these stories off, dismissing them as stress or exhaustion. But others, they can't laugh, because what they saw was too vivid, too real. It burned into their memory, a nightmare they replay over and over. Take Route 666, a stretch of highway so infamous they had to rename it to US 491. Drivers called it the Devil's Highway. Reports include phantom headlights that appear in your rearview mirror, chasing you at impossible speeds before vanishing into thin air. Others claimed a pack of hellhounds prowled the roadside, their glowing red eyes staring from the darkness, keeping pace with cars at 60 miles an hour. And still others described strange, faceless figures standing in the middle of the road, forcing drivers to swerve, only to find the figure had disappeared when they looked back. And yet, Route 666 isn't alone. Across the country, and even across the world, there are highways with their own terrifying reputations. Highway 87 in Montana, where people say the ghost of a man with hollow eyes steps in front of cars, his body mangled from an accident that killed him decades ago. Or Clinton Road in New Jersey, perhaps the most haunted road in America, where locals whisper about phantom headlights, ghost children who toss coins back at you, and even a mysterious ghost truck that chases drivers through the wood. These aren't just old legends. Some of these reports come from seasoned truck drivers, police officers, even priests, people with nothing to gain from fabricating a ghost story. But here's the most unsettling part. Many of these haunted highways share the same kinds of stories, even though they're hundreds of miles apart. Phantom hitchhikers, vanishing vehicles, figures appearing in the road, voices whispering in the static of a radio. It's as though highways themselves are liminal spaces, thin places where the veil between the living and the dead is weaker, and something else can slip through. So as we begin our journey into these haunted highways, I want you to imagine yourself behind the wheel. The dashboard glowing faintly, the hum of your tires filling the silence, and that feeling growing stronger with each mile that someone or something is watching you. Because our first full story takes place on a lonely two-lane road in the desert, where truckers swear a ghostly semi-truck hunts the living. They call it the spectral semi. Out in the Arizona desert, there's a stretch of two-lane blacktop that looks like any other. Flat land, open sky, long, empty miles between gas stations. But to long-haul truckers, that road has earned a reputation, one they whisper about in late-night diners over bitter coffee. They call it the home of the spectral semi. The legend began decades ago, when truckers started reporting a strange phenomenon. They'd be cruising late at night, headlights slicing through the desert dark, when suddenly, out of nowhere, massive headlights would flare up in their rearview mirror. At first, it seemed like just another 18-wheeler coming fast. But this one never behaved like a normal truck. Drivers say the phantom semi roars up behind them, its headlights blinding, its engine growling like thunder. It tailgates them at impossible speeds, 90, even 100 miles an hour, pushing them to the edge of the road. Some swear they felt the blast of hot wind as the truck nearly clipped their bumper. But here's the terrifying part. No matter how fast you go, no matter how sharp the turns, you can't outrun it. And just when drivers think they're about to be crushed beneath its massive grille, the truck vanishes. No skid marks, no lights, just empty road stretching into the night. One trucker, a man named Bill Hargrave, swore he nearly died out there. He was hauling freight from Flagstaff to Phoenix when the headlights appeared. He pushed his rig as hard as it would go, the speedometer needle trembling past 80. The phantom truck was still on him, horn blaring, lights so bright he could barely see. Bill said he could feel the heat from the engine behind him, could smell the acrid scent of burning rubber. His heart hammered in his chest, hands slick with sweat on the steering wheel. Then, just as he swerved onto the shoulder, bracing for impact, it was gone. He pulled over, chest heaving, staring into the empty desert night. The only sound was the ticking of his cooling engine. He checked his mirrors again and again, convinced the headlights would return. They didn't. But Bill never drove that route after sundown again. Other truckers tell similar stories. Some say the spectral semi appears only to those who drive alone. Others claim it's the ghost of a trucker who died in a fiery crash decades ago, doomed to relive his final ride by hunting down anyone who dares to cross his path. What unsettles me most are the stories from drivers who weren't alone. A woman named Angela, riding shotgun with her boyfriend, told police she saw the headlights closing in. She screamed, bracing for impact, yet when her boyfriend glanced in the mirror, he saw nothing at all. To him, the road was empty. To her, it was death barreling straight toward them. Was it a hallucination? A trick of exhaustion? Or was the ghost truck choosing who could see it? Highways like this become testing grounds for our sanity. Endless miles, isolation, fatigue. They wear down the mind. But when dozens of unrelated drivers, people who never met, describe the same phantom semi with the same terrifying detail, maybe it's not exhaustion at all. The problem is clear. On these haunted roads, you can't trust your senses. What you see in the mirror might be real, or it might be something far worse. And the spectral semi is only the beginning, because on a stretch of highway in Illinois, drivers tell another story. One not of a truck chasing them, but of a woman who waits patiently for someone to stop. They call her Resurrection Mary. If the spectral semi is about speed and terror chasing you down, Resurrection Mary is the opposite. She doesn't roar out of the dark. She waits, patient, silent, and that's somehow even more terrifying. The legend begins on Archer Avenue, just outside of Chicago. Locals know it well. A long stretch of road bordered by cemeteries and empty fields. It was there, back in the 1930s, that drivers first reported a strange encounter. A young woman, dressed in a pale gown, would be seen walking along the roadside at night. Blonde hair, blue eyes, always barefoot, no matter the season. She raises her hand, asking for a ride. Drivers who stop say she climbs quietly into the back seat, speaking little or not at all. Sometimes she asks to be taken to the Willowbrook Ballroom, a once famous dance hall nearby. Other times she says nothing, only gazes out the window as the car rolls through the night. But here's where it gets unsettling. She never makes it to her destination. Somewhere near the gates of Resurrection Cemetery, the girl vanishes. 1 second she's there, pale, solid, real. The next, the seat is empty. No sound, no trace, just the faint scent of lilies. Over the years, hundreds have told the same story. Cab drivers, truckers, even a priest once admitted that she appeared in his back seat during a midnight drive. The police received so many calls about a girl in distress along that road that they investigated, but every time they arrived, the road was empty. Who is Resurrection Mary? The most common story is that she was a young woman killed in a car accident after leaving a dance at the Willowbrook. Others claim she was struck by a hit-and-run driver while walking home. Whatever the truth, her spirit seems bound to that stretch of highway, doomed to forever search for a ride that never reaches its end. But Archer Avenue isn't the only place haunted by a hitchhiker. These phantom passenger stories appear everywhere. In Texas, along Highway 281, there are reports of a shadowy man who appears by the roadside, thumbing for a ride. Those who stop say he sits silently until the car passes an old burned-out church. Then he fades away, leaving behind the faint smell of smoke. In Hawaii, on the Pali Highway, locals warn never to pick up hitchhikers, especially near certain sacred grounds. They say if you do, you might be inviting an ancient spirit into your car, a spirit that won't leave until it's good and ready. And then there's the story of the lady in red, seen on multiple highways across the U.S. Unlike Mary, she doesn't wait quietly. Drivers claim she suddenly appears in the middle of the road, forcing them to slam on their brakes. Some have sworn they hit her, feeling the sickening thud of impact, only to jump out and find nothing. No body, no blood, just the empty road stretching on. What makes these stories chilling is the consistency. Different states, different years, yet always the same themes. A woman by the roadside, pleading for a ride, appearing where tragedy once struck. Could they all be the same spirit, taking different forms? Or is the highway itself somehow feeding these visions, drawing restless souls back into the world of the living? Whether it's the desert phantom truck or the ghostly girl in white, these stories share one terrifying truth. When you're driving a lonely road at night, you're never truly alone. Something out there is watching, waiting, and sometimes it follows you home. Which brings us to our climax. A story so disturbing that even seasoned truckers and police officers refuse to drive the road after dark. They call it the bridge on Highway 87. Montana's Highway 87 cuts through wide-open country. In the daylight, it's beautiful. Rolling hills, endless skies, the kind of road that makes you feel free. But after dark, truckers and travelers whisper about a stretch near a weathered old bridge. They say it's cursed. They say it's haunted. And after hearing what's been reported there, you might never want to drive it yourself. The stories began with simple sightings. Drivers claimed that as they approached the bridge, a figure would suddenly appear in the middle of the road. A man gaunt and pale, his clothes ragged, his eyes hollow like black pits. Most people thought it was a cruel prank, maybe a homeless drifter. But then came the accident. One driver swerved to avoid him, losing control of his car. The vehicle flipped into the ditch, killing the man instantly. When first responders arrived, they found no pedestrian, no body, just the mangled wreck and the lifeless driver. Locals began to whisper, the bridge had claimed another soul. Since then, countless travelers have described the same figure. Some say he stands on the bridge, staring at them with those empty eyes. Others claim he runs straight into their lane, forcing them to slam on the brakes, only for him to vanish in the headlights. One trucker swore he hit the man head-on. He pulled over, shaking, certain he had killed someone. But when he stepped out, there was nothing. No body. No damage to his truck. Just the night air, cold and silent, and the sound of rushing water beneath the bridge. The most terrifying story came from a Montana state trooper named Eric. He was on patrol one icy night when dispatch received a frantic 911 call. A woman was screaming that a man was chasing her car on foot, keeping pace with her at 60 miles per hour. Eric raced to the location, lights flashing, siren wailing. He spotted her car ahead, swerving wildly as though she was trying to escape something. When he pulled up alongside her, he saw her face, white with terror, And then, he saw it too. A man running beside her car. His limbs moved in a jerky, unnatural rhythm, his hollow eyes fixed on her window. Eric swore the figure turned its head and looked straight at him as it ran. Then, as they reached the bridge, it vanished into thin air. The woman was hysterical when she finally stopped. She kept saying the same thing over and over. He was trying to get in. He was trying to open the door. Eric filed the report, but when he returned to the spot the next day, there were no footprints in the snow. Nothing but empty road. Stories like this spread fast. Truckers began refusing to take that route at night. Locals detour miles out of their way just to avoid the bridge after sundown. And those who dare to drive it say they keep their eyes locked straight ahead, hands white-knuckled on the wheel, whispering prayers under their breath. Some believe the figure is the ghost of a man killed in a hit-and-run decades ago, doomed to replay his death by throwing himself into the paths of oncoming cars. Others think it's something darker, something that feeds on fear and tragedy, using the bridge as a hunting ground. Whatever it is, one thing is certain. Highway 87's bridge has claimed lives. And if you ever find yourself driving it at night, and you see a figure step onto the road, don't slow down. Don't stop. And for the love of God, don't look into his eyes. Because those who do rarely make it across. Highways are supposed to represent freedom, open roads, adventure, escape. But tonight, we've seen the darker side. The side where those same stretches of asphalt become hunting grounds for the unknown. We started in the deserts of Arizona, where truckers whisper about the spectral semi, a phantom 18-wheeler that appears from nowhere, its headlights burning through the dark, chasing drivers at impossible speeds before vanishing into thin air. Exhaustion might explain it. Imagination, maybe. But when dozens of different truckers tell the same story with the same haunted eyes, how do you explain that away? Then we drove down Illinois' Archer Avenue, where Resurrection Mary waits by the roadside. A pale girl in white, forever searching for a ride that will never take her home. She has been reported for nearly a century, appearing to everyone from cab drivers to priests. If you pick her up, she may ride silently beside you, but she always vanishes before reaching the cemetery gates. And from there, we explored the countless variations of the phantom hitchhiker, the lady in red who throws herself into the path of cars, the burned man in Texas who smells of smoke, the Hawaiian spirits who climb into cars uninvited. Different names, different states, but always the same unnerving theme. The dead still walk the roads, waiting for someone to notice them. But perhaps the most disturbing story of all was on Montana's Highway 87, where a gaunt, hollow-eyed figure stalks travelers across a lonely bridge. He doesn't just appear. He chases, keeping pace with cars, sometimes even trying to open their doors. Police officers, seasoned truckers, terrified locals, they've all seen him. Some call him a ghost. Others think he's something darker. But whatever he is, drivers avoid that bridge after dark, because those who don't often don't make it across. When you stitch these stories together, a chilling pattern emerges. Highways are liminal spaces. They exist between towns, between destinations, between the comfort of home and the uncertainty of the unknown. And in that in-between, the veil seems thinner. People see what shouldn't be there. Hear voices in the static. Glimpse figures in the rearview mirror that vanish when they look again. Maybe it's because so many lives have been lost on the roads, accidents, murders, tragedies etched into the asphalt. Maybe it's because highways stretch through forgotten land, places where history still lingers, where restless souls wander. Or maybe highways are something more. A liminal pathway not just for the living, but for the dead. And here's the thought I want to leave you with. The next time you're driving late at night, miles from the nearest town, radio crackling with static, headlights cutting through the black, ask yourself, are you really alone? Because if these stories are true, someone might be walking just beyond the glow of your headlights. Someone might be standing by the roadside, waiting for you to stop. And if you glance into your rearview mirror and see a pale face staring back at you from the back seat, remember Resurrection Mary. Remember Highway 87. And whatever you do, don't look too long. Highways are full of stories. Tonight, we've only scratched the surface. But now I want to hear from you. Backhand index pointing right. Have you ever had a strange or unsettling experience while driving at night? Did you see something you couldn't explain? Share your story in the comments. I'll be reading them all. And if you want more terrifying tales of haunted highways, creepy encounters, and true horror stories that will keep you awake tonight, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss the next chilling story. Because the road ahead is long, and the shadows are waiting.